Hey everyone, it's Desiree, and yes, I am back, and I am back with day 12 of my 2018 Christmas series. So for day 12, we are going to focus on Penny Black and Hero Arts. The Hero Arts is coming in for the sentiment set that I am going to use. So for the stamp set, this is called Adornments. What's nice about this stamp set is if you are not comfortable with watercoloring, or you think that, okay, this just isn't going to work with me, or you're a little bit intimidated, this is the perfect stamp set for you. It's great if you use the a water reactive ink, dye ink, used to stamp your image, and then you can use your favorite watercolors, whether it's Crayola, whether it's the re-inkers for your distress inks. For this one, I'm actually going to use my QoR watercolors. They are my favorite. Yes, I do love the Daniel Steels, but I really don't own any of those, actually. I just truly am a fan of the QoRs. They do come in different sets, so I'll have them linked below. So I'm going to use my antique linen to stamp my image. Now I'm going to stamp this multiple times. I really do want a nice strong base of the antique linen, and you'll see why. I actually, you'll see that warmth, that brown tint come through, because remember, your distress inks are definitely water reactive. But again, I did put a lot of layer here. So I taped my piece down onto a wooden board. Now the paper that I'm using is my Canson XL watercolor. It is my paper of choice. And the palette that I put my watercolors in is actually either the alcohol ink or the dye ink palette by Ranger. I like it. I think it works great. I believe I saw Kelly Yadavola use it. And from then on, I was absolutely hooked with it. It's compact and it's nice. So this section, you can see I sped up a little bit, but don't think I'm not going to gab through it, because here I go. So I'm just using some of the colors. My ornaments are each going to be a red tone, a purple, and a gold. So for the red, I like to put my base color down. And again, I am not a watercolorist in any way, shape, or form. I just enjoy this. So it's not going to look like a watercolor scene. And you know what? I'm okay with that. I just really enjoy it. I do keep practicing, because this is something that I would like to strengthen. So remember, our practice makes us better, as long as we keep practicing. So you can see with the red, I started with a red base, and then I came in with a darker shade along the side. It was still wet, so the colors will move. And then while it was still damp, I added a red with blue to give myself a deeper red, just to put on that side. For my gold, you can see I have the base layer of the yellow on the ornament, but I don't have to do too much because the antique linen is actually still there. It's still creating my shadow, and I want that. So while they're reactive, it won't totally go away, only because I did stamp this like 3 times. Now, I want to make sure this is dry. I should have started with the yellow ornament instead of the red. Only because that yellow might still be damp. This purple could bleed into it. So I kind of did take a chance. And it did bleed a little bit. Again, I'm okay. I'm just going to pretend there's a shadow coming in. And, you know, the silhouette is going on to the gold ornament. That's how you look at it. Now, I'm also not worried about my light sources. I just put my shades where I want my shades. I don't need them in the same direction. So know that I'm just going to town with this. What I do like with the purple is that brown is still coming through. That antique linen is still showing through. So with each of these ornaments, this is when I realized I should get out my heat gun. Each of these ornaments have a warm tint to them because of the antique linen. It may not make sense. I may not have said that right, but that's how I'm viewing it. That's what I'm seeing as I'm creating these. So I am loving this antique linen mixing with my watercolors. For this purple one, I want to add a final shade when as it's leaning up against that gold ornament. And I'm just going to smooth that out with a clean brush with just water in it, but not a lot of water. I did pull some of it out. I'm going to add just a tint of the gold underneath as well, just to give that a heavier shade as well. And again, with a clean brush, I'm going to bleed that through. I'm going to move that color and soften the edge up. For the red, I'm actually going to use that deep red. It's the red and the blue mixed, but there's more red into it as my shadow for that ornament. I will heat set this. There's my hand in full glory. Just to make sure that it is dry before I take it off my board, and once I'm done adding in all of my colors. I just really wanted that shade to be darker when it came to the purple. So after it's dry, you can continue to add your layers to your piece. You know, you don't, watercolor, while I love the movement of watercolor, it doesn't always have to be a wet and wet technique where you have the paper wet and you're just dropping your colors in. You know, you can have it dry and then go back on the top of it with that same pigment to create a darker shadow. I'm just using some of the black watercolor that I have here. I watered it down a lot because, again, as you add more water to your pigments in watercolor, that shade will get lighter. The less water you use, the darker hue you will have of that watercolor. So I just wanted to put a little bit faint shadow underneath the ornaments, just to let them be grounded a little bit. Now I wanted the top of the ornaments nice and shiny. Had to be shiny. So I grabbed my Ranger Emboss It pen. Thought it was perfect. I could fill in the ornaments, the tops of them, with this pen, and I would be able to use my embossing powder. Now I chose the color Champagne. This is my Recollections powder, and I think it just added that nice touch. So I'm going to do that to the three toppers. Now, yes, there is a hook that was stamped as well, and you can see I had to fix my Ranger pen. Yes, the top felt the need to stay in the cap. So how did I fix it? I just jammed the cap down onto it and twisted and prayed it came out, and it did. Yay! So see, we can fix things. We have that ability. So I'm continuing through now on this on the second topper. I didn't go quite to the line. It's clear, you can't see it. So sometimes it's difficult. So I just filled in with the pen again. And it worked just fine. So once I have those filled in, once I like the coverage that I got, I'm just going to real quick brush off some of the excess powder in case there's any laying around, and I'm going to heat set those. Once they're heat set, I'm grabbing my Faber-Castell Pitt pen. Now this is size small. I don't know exactly what size that is. But the beauty of these pens is they're India ink, which makes them permanent, which also makes them able to go over a lot of surfaces. In this case, the embossed areas. So I can go right across that embossed area, and it's going to stay. Once India ink dries, it's permanent. Now, you know, Vicky, she uses it in her art journals to do shading. And yes, she's moving that while it's still wet with her finger. So, but once it dries, you would not be able to move that. So that pen is always near me, very closely. So once they were fully dry, removed them from the board. Of course, I'm catching up here because I gabbed a little bit. I used my antique frame dies by Penny Black because I just love the edge that it gives. This is one of my favorite frame dies. It's second to my MFT Wonky. I know, I haven't seen that in a while. I know. So the sentiment that I chose is peace and joy to you and yours. I use my VersaFine black ink to stamp that down onto my card design, and I'm going to use my clear embossing powder to heat set that. Once that's heat set, of course, the vintage photo had to come out. Yes, you knew that was going to make an appearance. It's either the vintage photo now or the white pigment ink. I seem to be grabbing for these two things a lot during the holidays, which I think is cool. So I just went around the edge lightly. I didn't want to go too heavy with that, but I wanted to accent the antique linen that actually is sitting underneath. I do want to prop this panel up using some fun foam. Now, this fun foam that I'm actually using does have one side that is adhesive, and it's nice and strong. For the other side, I'm going to use my 2-inch double-sided tape film. I get this from Uline. Again, I'll have this linked below. This tape is phenomenal, but strong. It is not forgiving, but you get a sure bond with it. Dug out a couple card bases. I wasn't quite sure what card base I wanted to use, what color. So I chose this like olive green yellow shade. I thought it was perfect. This is a standard A2 size card base, which means it's 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and it is a top folding card. And as always, we always have some close-ups. So I hope you enjoyed this that's funny, video. I'm glad you came back, and yes, we are going to have more coming in for this Christmas series of 2018. I'm sorry, I had to take a little break, and believe it or not, I am having some major issues with my computer. So, I'm really hoping for a computer for Christmas, please. Although I know I got one. So, hopefully our editing process will be easier. So I do apologize that I kind of slowed down there, but more will be coming. If you like this video, please make sure you hit the thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed yet, please make sure you do that as well. All the products that I used in this video will be linked down below as always. So if you have any questions or if I missed something, check there or let me know in the comments. And of course, any questions you have, leave those down in the comments as well. And I will make sure I get back to you as soon as I can. I hope everyone's having a wonderful day. I hope you're enjoying the holidays that are during this season. But remember what's most important for me. Every day, be creative.